Attorney General and Minister of Justice Prince Lateef Fagbemi has called on the International Criminal Court, the ICC, to end its prolonged investigation into the Nigerian military. Speaking at the 23rd session of the Assembly of State Parties to the Rome Statute in The Hague, Netherlands, Fagbemi highlighted Nigeria's commitment to justice and the fight against terrorism. The Attorney General emphasized that Nigeria has consistently shown its dedication to confronting impunity and holding perpetrators of heinous crimes accountable. He noted that the preliminary examinations into alleged crimes in Nigeria has dragged on for 14 years, a situation he described as demoralizing for military personnel risking their lives in the fight against terrorism. Fagbemi reaffirmed Nigeria's status as a responsible state party to the Rome Statute, stating that the country has actively engaged with the ICC and upheld international humanitarian law. And to discuss this, we're joined by a lawyer and public affairs analyst, Justice Ojienoh. Justice, thank you very much for joining us again this afternoon. Good to always have you on the news. So what specific factors have caused the ICC's investigation into alleged crimes in Nigeria for the last 14 years? Let's start there.
Okay, I think that it is the actions and activities of Boko Haram and the Nigerian army in particular, especially in the Middle Belt. That's number one. And number two, the way the Nigerian army also engages with civilians, and the flagship of which is the 2016 massacre of the Shiites. So those are two major triggers of the investigation that commenced in 2010, especially the preliminary investigation. And I learned that it became a full-blown investigation after the judicial imprimatur of the International Criminal Court. It became a full-blown investigation in 2020. And it has been the call and clamor of Amnesty International, the arch enemy, in a manner of speaking, of the Nigerian army that has resulted in Nigeria being investigated. And I must tell you, Mazino, that one of the major reasons why the International Criminal Court will go into investigating a country is because they do not have confidence in the local justice system of that country to actually hold agencies of government like the Nigerian army responsible, or even the Nigerian government at large responsible in the event that they are using other law enforcement agencies. So it is this bankruptcy of trust, this bankruptcy of confidence, that justice will be made available to persons who suffer it, that crimes and criminalities, especially on a large scale, will not be covered by law enforcement. That is the reason why the International Criminal Court largely still has business in this regard. Otherwise, if the local law enforcement or local judicial system is trusted, especially the prosecutors are trusted, then the International Criminal Court will not really want to have a business with expending their meager resources to investigate the Nigerian state, for example.
Okay, so Justice, the Attorney General, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, actually told that these prolonged investigations by international bodies could be demoralizing. So your take, what do you think about this? How could this be demoralizing for the members of the Nigerian military?
Mazino, let's even start with your headline breaking news now. It is daily Farotimi being practically haunted and being practically witch-haunted with the system. So how will the ICC back off? They won't back off when they know that independent critics, there is no freedom of information, there is no freedom of movement. The Nigerian state or agencies of the Nigerian state can just wake up. This today now is the police. It is the police that are practically haranguing Mr. Dele Rotimi in a manner of speaking for exercising probably his fundamental human rights to expression as guaranteed by Section 39 of our Constitution. And if it is seen that, okay, he is in breach of such a section, the large the large scale, what we have always said that is that the highway should be the civil courts. Anybody should try to ventilate their rights in the civil courts, not the criminal courts. And you are arresting this one today, you are slaughtering people en masse tomorrow. And not just that you are slaughtering them, you are trying to cover up. You are covering up. There is no prosecutor that can actually be fully able to hold the Nigerian army or any other law enforcement liable. So how will the ICC hold back? It has to affect their morale. They have to be held accountable. If the Nigerian army decides to break the law en masse and a la carte, they should be held accountable. If they are not being held accountable locally, they should be held accountable internationally. The heads of the Nigerian army should be scared to travel, indeed, if they actually do something, if they do something wrong. But if they are confident that they didn't do anything wrong, why not? At least we are sure and confident of justice in international courts. If you present your own lawyers and you present your own case, you are sure to get justice. So you don't have to be scared, especially on the international stage. It is when you're in Nigeria that you can be scared that, okay, if I did no wrong, there can be trumped up charges against me and I will be witch-hunted.
Well, Justice, I knew you wouldn't be able to keep away from the Fagbemi arrest. I knew you were going to talk about it. But do you think Nigeria is doing enough when it comes to addressing impunity and also upholding international humanitarian law, or are we doing nothing at all?
As you know, can I make my answer as short as possible? If yes, the word is no.
Okay, that was very short. So how does Nigeria's call for the ICC to conclude this investigation balance with the need for accountability?
Okay, for me, I think that, well, the Attorney General is in a tight spot. Is aside the fact that he's an Attorney General, which is supposed to be in Nigeria, and unfortunately so, an Attorney General is supposed to be neutral to what the government is doing. They are supposed to be the lawyer for the Nigerian people. But unfortunately in Nigeria, the Attorney General doubles as the Minister of Justice. So in his capacity as Minister of Justice, no matter what the Army has historically done, even before he took his oath of office as Attorney General, he is bound to practically defend it. He's bound to be their propagandist, and that's where his job is very, very hard. So I'm not really happy that he is still having to go ahead and tell the ICC to halt the investigation. The accountability is really in danger if they halt the investigation, because there's no machinery in Nigeria to hold the Nigerian army accountable for the things they did even before he became Attorney General. Yeah, he has been a good man. I'm happy with the way that he has been approaching some matters. Today may not be a day to highlight his achievements, which I'm privately very happy with. But his hands are tied. He is forced to now be the advocate of the Nigerian army and the Nigerian state on the international scale, and that's his difficulty. But I'm not in support of it. I feel that the investigation should continue, and the Nigerian army, the rank and file of the Nigerian army, and any other person in the Nigerian state that perpetrated all the injustices and all the breach of fundamental human rights, internationally recognized human rights, they should be held accountable.
So when you're talking about that international scale now, with this that's happening, where does Nigeria find itself in that relationship with the ICC and also other international justice mechanisms?
Okay, for me, I think that Nigeria has not really been in a good light internationally. We also saw we saw the show of shame with respect to the protests and how it was handled. We also saw the arraignment of children. That was the height, especially in recent times. And this Mr. Fagbemi's arrest also ticks the box. So Nigeria is not faring well internationally on the human rights scale. And I don't know whether I should be very happy that Amnesty International is practically not letting the Nigerian army rest or the Nigerian state rest when it comes to really advertising it when the Nigerian state airs when it comes to some of these matters. So I don't think we are doing well on the international stage it looks like we are not really climbing up. It looks like we are getting down lower and lower on the ladder, and it is very, very unfortunately so, especially as hinted by Mr. Fisayo Soyombo, that we have a president who himself was known to be an activist, at least in action. We now, a lot of things are going out to show that it may not be in intention, but now it's very, very unfortunate that this is the way it is actually unraveling, and it is to the detriment of the Nigerian state, and it's not something I'm happy with at all.
Indeed. Well, I want to say thank you very much, Justice Ojienoh, for giving us your time this afternoon to give us your view on the story. And by the way, it's been noted that you say the word justice a lot, but then again, it is your name. Thank you very much, Justice.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, indeed. Thank you, Justice.